I'm back with another amazing guest. Maru Iabichela has been called the Queen of Expansion for her incredibly transformative work teaching women how to open up energetically, mentally, and practically so they can invite in an avalanche of blessings and unstoppable prosperity. She's on a mission to help everyone see that receiving what we ask for is a skill you can learn and that there's no limit to how good you can have it. Her flagship program, Infinite Receiving, has touched the lives of thousands of infinite receivers all over the world who've used her paradigms to experience miraculous results in their lives and businesses. This is fucking incredible, Maru, aka Queen of Expansion.
My copywriter wrote that. I would have never called myself that, but I'll receive it. I'll say, okay, if you see me that way, I'll take it.
And here she is, folks, practicing what she preaches, receiving. And it's funny because, this is one of the things that I think a lot of people have trouble doing. For some reason, it's so much easier to dish things out. For some reason, it's so much easier to give than it is to receive, or even be open to the idea of receiving. So why don't you fill in the listeners on what is infinite receiving?
Well, thank you so much for the invite. I am so proud of you. Thank you, everybody, for following this amazing girl and for listening to today's episode.
Thank you.
I hope you love it. And as always, I truly hope you experience an opening, an expansion, or something very special that comes out of the blue. As you'll see in my background, if you're watching, I am all about the universe, the infinite, and blue, because blue is the color of the infinite. Everything that's infinite is blue. And that became, when I tell you the experience I had with receiving and what happened to me and how this transformed my life in a matter of hours. You'll see why I only wear blue, and pretty much everything I do is blue nails, blue car, blue underwear. I would show you that well, so I'm going to wait on that. Yeah, they can show you. There you go. My sports buy is blue. But yeah, guys, taking it very seriously. Why is it that people have such a hard time receiving and believing they deserve to get everything they ask for?
That's the golden question.
Yeah, it's why is that? And I think there's this stigma, right, that receiving is for lazy people. That receive, you're taking, that it's not good or not godly or not something, right?
It's just selfish.
Yeah, it's selfish. It's not good to be the beneficiary of the things that you want. It sounds so silly when you put it that way, but the truth is we do it every day. Whether it's in the way that you react when something good happens and most people go no way, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening to me. I never win anything. There's so many different things that we do on a daily basis that are pervasive, not obvious, that are literally doing this, turning your back to the universe, turning your back on your blessings. And then you wonder why your plans don't work, or why things are taking so long, or why nothing's working. And it's because you don't understand. You've never been presented. Most of us were never presented with the idea that receiving is something that you kind of have to become aware of.
Right. We're often told you have to give.
Yeah, you have to give. Ask and give, right?
Yes.
And even The Secret, they talk about ask, believe, receive. When most people are great askers, they're great at journaling, visualizing, meditating, praying, you name it, putting intentions out there. But then when the signs start showing up, or when things show up, they're they freak out, they get overwhelmed, they start questioning it. When's the other shoe gonna drop? How long is this gonna last? So we're so skeptical of this notion that we do deserve to receive, and that it is our birthright. Be the beneficiary of that goodness, right? It's something that we have to work hard to earn it. And I was that person, so I stand before you today, and this was not in my bio, but I'm really proud to say that in 19 months, my business had crossed the $1 million line from
congratulations.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Almost nothing. Right before Infinite Receiving came to me, I was a struggling online entrepreneur. I was focusing on just doing business and marketing. And even though I was really great at honing in people's messages and helping them package it, I couldn't do that for myself consistently. I was just in perpetual feast and famine. And I became a single mom, out of the blue, literally one day my ex walked in and he was like, you know what, I'm done. And I was like, you know what, I think I am too. And then with within a month, I couldn't close one deal. I was like struggling to pay for my son's daycare. The gas had been cut off at my house, and I couldn't move out because I didn't have good credit to move to an apartment somewhere, and I didn't have the money to move and, you know, get a new place. So I remember giving myself an ultimatum and saying like, okay, God, universe, Santa Claus, baby Jesus, whoever's out there listening, if by May, this is February 2016, if by May 2016, nothing, like I can't seem to make this work consistently, now that I have to be the sole provider pretty much for my kid. I had a 1.5-year-old at the time. I was like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. So please help me. And I knew that I was doing something wrong. I knew that I was the common denominator to 18 no's. I had 18 discovery calls, like 18 potential clients, of which everybody said no. 2 people said yes. And then something happened to them where they couldn't say yes anymore. So I knew that I was blocking it. I don't know if it's ever happened to the listeners or to you, where you're trying everything you know to do, everything you've learned from Marie Forleo down to like Mary Magdalene in the Bible, and nothing's working. Like, zero.
Yeah, you know, it's like that saying, when it rains, it pours, and like nothing's really falling into place. Everything's getting like more fucked up. Shit's hitting the fan. You're like, what is going on?
Yes, I had one of those moments, and I said, you know what? I'm out of here. I remember I had $300 to my name, and I went to a hotel, and I was just like, I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's wrong, because everything is falling apart. It was on my way to the hotel that I had this sort of deep awakening, what I came to understand as a sort of wake up message that went on to change my life and the life of thousands of others now in 2 years. And basically I was driving and I heard a voice that said, Maru, you only get what you have the capacity to receive. I still have to pause when I hear that, because I remember what it felt like when I heard that, because my immediate reaction was, what does that mean? I have nothing in my bank account. Like, I have nothing in my life right now. Like, I have plenty of room and I have nothing. What do you mean you only get what you have the capacity to receive? And I sat with that, and I quickly recognized that it wasn't about like physical space. That it was that even though I was begging and praying for clients and success and money at the time, that I didn't have the emotional, energetic, or even spiritual capacity to handle what I was asking for, because my life was a hot mess at the time. And so it's almost like you're praying to receive in a pretty full container.
Yeah.
And I kind of sat with that, and I was like, wait, if that's true, that you only get what you have the capacity to receive, then how big is my capacity to receive? And I remember thinking like 40%. That was the number that came to me at the time. And I was like, how is it supposed to work that I'm asking for Oprah-sized blessings and I'm like, door is only 40% open, or like my box only has like, you know, it's only 40% of the capacity can be. I was like, this makes no sense. So I remember asking myself, like, what would it take for me to increase that capacity? Like, what is that capacity, or how do I grow it? And I had this, you know, it sounds esoteric, and it sounds like people listening may be like, well, but listen, it was the $1 million idea. Okay? Listen, because
this shit works. Listen.
It works. It's made people pregnant. It's healed cancer. It's made people a lot of money. Listen, okay? I don't know. I feel like I caught a wave from the universe or something, which explains my background and my life, basically. And in that wave, or in that understanding of like, how do I go, if that were to be true, you only get what you have the capacity to receive. How do you grow your capacity to receive? And it was, the message I got was that I was meant to visualize this receiving tank, like a fish tank, like a fishing tank in my chest. And that I needed to affirm that it was growing infinitely like the universe. And so I started saying, for shits and giggles, like in the car, my capacity to receive expands infinitely like the universe. My capacity to receive expands infinitely like the universe. My capacity to receive expands infinitely like the universe. And it was what happened next that completely shocked me, because nothing like that had ever happened. Within 20 minutes before I got to the hotel, it had about an hour drive. I had about an hour drive to the hotel. Right before I got to the hotel, a woman messaged me saying, hey, I'm paying you $7,500 for that package that I wasn't sure about a long time ago. So it's somebody who I had talked to probably a month or two prior that was not on my radar at all.
Right.
That Saturday night, like at 6:30 in the evening, who's thinking about life coaching,
Yeah.
or, about marketing in their business, like on a Saturday evening? She messages me and says, hey, I'm gonna send you that money. She pays for the invoice. And I'm like in a state of shock thinking, did what I hear, said, and thought had anything to do with this moment? No, I'm sure it was just a rare coincidence. I'm sure nothing, they were not connected, as we all do with the intuition and the ideas that we get. We discount them, we throw them out before we give them a chance. So I'm like, that was weird. Okay, some relief, but whatever. I still need to go do the work, right? The drawing board and stuff. So it's what happened after that. Then that was even more shocking. My parents called and says, hey, we're buying a house for you and Matthias, so you can move out. And I'm like, what? Okay. Then a client called and said she was gifting me a week in St. Bart's at her villa in St. Bart's in the Caribbean. Then by Monday, like literally not within 48 hours of this experience, I had received $32,000 in cash. So by from Saturday evening till Thursday morning, all this has happened. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is so weird. All these things bunched up together. And I kept thinking of that, like my capacity to receive grows. Like, what if that 40% grows, right? So that's the thing that started it all. That was the moment that went on to completely, totally 100% change my life, because I kept it to myself for about a month. I shared it with just a few people, and everybody that I would share it with, they would come back to me and say, Maru, you don't understand. Like, this thing had been stuck somewhere in the pipeline. And after I started saying that, it happened.
Right.
So finally I decided to do a video, and the video goes viral. And
this is the video. Was this a video of you laying in the grass? Because I remember there was a video that you did viral.
Yeah, no, that video got so many views, but that's because Lisa Nichols had just like endorsed me and said that I was amazing and that I was but that's the kind of stuff that started happening to me, that people like, well, not to brag, but like a week ago exactly, I was at a dinner with Joel Osteen, Oprah, Floyd Mayweather, all these people, opportunities that I'm like, how could I have orchestrated or engineered them?
Right.
No, like little old Venezuelan me, immigrant, like didn't speak English 16 years ago. Like, no, believe me, there's a lot more to this, right? So I do this video. I'm just sharing like the 7 things that if you're doing, you're kind of fucking yourself over, like, you just stop doing, right? I just said, like, here guys, like, I had this experience, this happened, and here's 7 things that you should stop doing. I didn't intend to sell anything. I just wanted to share the magic, because I felt very strongly that this wasn't off me. Like, I was just sharing something, but I was just the conduit. Like, it wasn't like, oh, Maru, you told me this, and you, I would never take credit for any of this. Never. It's not mine. It's through me, not off me. And girl, like after that, I don't know, I got like 40 emails after that video started going around, like people saying, Maru, a client paid me double after I watched a video. I want a scholarship. I want a Fitbit. This woman was like, I've had bronchitis for like, I don't know how many months. And today I got on the treadmill without my inhaler for the first time ever. Crazy stuff that I'm like, okay, God, I have no idea what this is, but this is not business, marketing, or messaging, and I have no idea what to do with it. But I knew that I had to say yes to whatever it was. So it probably took me about 2 weeks. I posted an offer, like literally a PayPal link. There is no sales page. There's no website to this. I have no idea what it's called. If you look at I've been sharing a lot on my personal page of like retweets and shares from 2 years ago, because I was like, guys, I don't know what this is, but I just keep getting testimonial after testimonial. And I was saying unstoppable prosperity at the time, or infinite prosperity, because infinite receiving sounded so weird. But I ended up doing a class for 4 weeks. I called it Infinite Receiving just for the heck of it. 98 people signed up at $123. And we're at 700 paid members, of which the minimum has paid $377 at the very beginning. Now they pay $777. And it's revolutionizing the way that women show up in the world, because, we show up in a manner of like asking for permission, shrinking all the time, fearing like we're going to get in trouble if we say something, or if we step over a boundary. Like we have to take responsibility for other people's chores or businesses or feelings. And I teach you to to take responsibility for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that that in order to receive your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, that you've got to, I'm not saying that you have to stop giving so damn much, but you have to stop the over giving in the people pleasing, and that you have to stop faking that it's out of service, because it's not service, it's people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really bust a lot of what's the term? Like social norms that became norms, but it's truly to accommodate our shrinking, you know, to accommodate that we don't want to say more or state the truth or be more honest with people. And I showed them that shrinking is totally related to your bank account, that there's a direct link between the way that you expand or contract in your daily life and how big or small your bank account is. And it's revolutionary. It's revolutionary. I mean, I can't say that my life is perfect or it's been perfect since, but the tools that I've received with this philosophy and this program have been extremely instrumental in finding love and, you know, completely moving on to like a third chance at life that I can do over again in a way that I want. And it's so powerful. It's simple, but it's powerful. And that's what I love about it, because the science is free. So I would love to leave your guess. You haven't said anything, Ruby. I
because you know what? I know, because I'm letting people really start to hear about this. Because here's the thing, right? Because there are going to be people who are listening to this who are like, what the fuck is this woman on? This is just total woo-woo shit. It doesn't make any sense. It's not practical. And then there are people who are going to be like, oh yeah, because energy is everything. I get this. So I really wanted people to really just hear everything first before I dive in, because of course I'm going to play the devil's advocate. That's what we do here. You know, and so something that I talk about all the time is that energy is everything, right? So what we have to really start to become the best managers of our own internal energy if we want to start managing the energy around us.
Of course,
and it seems like infinite receiving is about that, but
is that yes,
and it also seems like this really far-fetched idea of like, hey, if I just repeat this mantra, then I'm going to get all these things.
No. I mean, that is definitely, that was the beginning of it for me. But then after that, I had to start cleaning up all the shrinking that I had done throughout my life, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk about the shrinking, because I think this is something that people, you know, shrink, whether it's shrinking, playing small, deflecting, like we deflect compliments, we deflect receiving. People do a lot of these things. A lot of the time it's unconscious behavior. Like we're not even conscious that we are doing this. We're not conscious that we are shrinking. We're not conscious that we're not open to receiving. I mean, I used to be the worst compliment receiver in the world. You know, people would say nice things to me and I would totally deflect. And it wasn't until like my now husband started like kind of training me. And so now I actually consciously take a moment, breathe it in, say thank you. Sometimes I put my hand on my heart just to consciously really receive it.
Right.
But it's like a lot of this behavior is so unconscious and it's so embedded in our programming.
Yes.
So, and to those people, this probably feels like super fucking far-fetched.
They're probably not listening to you. I'll be completely honest with you. Like if they've listened to this far, they're either, but I'm setting the intention that everybody, like I said at the beginning, that everybody that listens to this gets the surefire sign that you are experiencing some infinite receiving is because it's out of the blue. It's unexpected, you know, and that's how you know.
It's like a nudge on your shoulder, like something.
Yeah, it's like that defies logic and belief. That's when you know that you've, like something has like fallen into place, like a little piece of a puzzle, or like a spine alignment, like a lumber or something just like clicked. Yeah. And you've gone, you know, you're receiving more, you're more tuned in. So what your question was, we started talking about the shrinking, right? So here's the thing, guys. I come from a very practical, you know, I speak 3 languages. I've traveled all over the world. I blah, blah, blah. You know, I talked my way through a Secret Service twice. You know, it's like I did all the practical things. I have a master's degree, blah, 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 all that stuff. So for me, even when it happened to me, I was like, the heck with this. What the heck is this? And nobody's going to believe me. And I'm such a flake. It really took so much out of me to decide to completely change lanes and say yes to whatever this energy was. And I'm so glad I did, because it's been amazing. But
because it's so different from practicality. It's like the
You know what?
opposite
But it
polar.
isn't. But this is what I want to go into, because it isn't. I think the way it happened to me, because it was so fast, it was so quantum. It was like, I said this, I thought this, and this happened, and everything changed so fast, and it's kept climbing. Like I said, my business hit the $1 million mark in 19 months, which to me, I've never even known to ask for that. Let me reach over to this. So these are 2 meteorites that I got in the mail last August. A friend of mine who was like one of the founders of Zappos, and I met him through doing speaking and all that. Like, he was like, these are for you. Out of the blue, I get meteorites in the mail. And I almost fell off my chair, because I was like, does that mean I get gifts from outer space now? Like, oh my God. But it's what I talk about. It's like, it's amazing when you trust and when you are truly open to receiving what can show up at your doorstep that previously you couldn't even have asked for, because all your goals are based on anticipated expectations of what other people could achieve or have achieved, and what you thought you were capable of. And to me, this is about trashing all that and saying, you know what, I'm open for the most ideal, the highest function, the highest use of myself and my business and everything. And it takes a lot of guts to trust that. But I teach people how to do it in a very fun way. So it's very practical, Ruby. It's not woo-woo in my case, the way I teach it. And I think that's why it's been so successful. It's because it's extremely practical the way I teach it. So can I go into like some ways that I want people to know that this is shrinking and they don't even know it?
Yes. Let's talk about the signs that you're shrinking.
Okay. So I already said a very common one, like the whole, I can't believe this is happening to me. No way. Or even when you're like, when something's happening, something good's happening, and instead of like, yes, you go
celebrating.
Like, oh shoot, I don't want anybody to find out.
Yeah.
They're going to get jealous, or I don't want them to think that I'm special. I don't want to celebrate it. I don't want to share it. You know, all those are signs that you're not fully receiving what you're, what's showing up for you. And that also that you're skeptical of what's showing up. Skepticism is a big block to receiving, because it's kind of like you putting up all these defenses and these protections of things actually working out. And
it's like it's major doubt.
It's major doubt. And I'm not saying to like dive into everything, but you need to learn to discern what's intuition and what's fear. You know what I mean? And so, but let's just keep it to the language, right? Because that's a very common one. So start saying, of course this is happening to me. I mean, you were not put on this earth to suffer or to shrink or to be less of what you're here to be. So the hacks, I guess, that we teach are, of course, and more please. So when something good happens, you're like, of course this is happening to me. This is what I've worked for all my life, or this is what I want, right? And more please is something that people have a hard time saying at the beginning, because they're like, is that greedy? Does that mean I'm not grateful because I'm saying more please? No, on the contrary, you appreciate, you're grateful, but to say that, yes, affirming this is the kind of stuff that I want. Like I had a client this morning, she was like, take my money, take my money. She's like, I'm so excited to work with you. And I'm like, more please, universe, more like her. Thank you. Right?
Yeah. So, when you say more please, it's funny because I think about like my mom's cooking, and you know, you think about mom's cooking and it's like, this is so good, I want some more please. Like mom's not insulted. Mom's really fucking happy. She's like, oh my God, she loves my food. I'm going to give her more.
Exactly. And it's a compliment. And to me, just practice that. Like, you know, when something good happens, just say thank you, put your hand on your heart or whatever. Just say thank you. More of that, please. Yes, I'm open. Right. So that's one quick hack. Another thing that's a very common block to receiving is saving the best for last. So look at your food, right? Like a lot of people save the best for last on the plate, or like you have a coins jar forever and you never use it unless you have a purpose for it.
Right.
Go freaking cash it in. Your underwear, lipstick, makeup, clothes, shoes, suits, china, you name it. Like there's so many things in our lives that we're like pens, you know, everything that you're saving for a time or
like
for
a special occasion.
Something for a special occasion. And it's not going to happen, folks. It's kind of like you're telling, like if the universe was a person, you're kind of saying like, all these blessings or all these things that I favor or that I like, it's not time for them yet. I'm not so special, or the time hasn't come. Like, I'm just going to wait for it, you know, until
and it also feels like that really old school mentality that our parents or grandparents grew up in, where they're like, okay, we're going to work really, 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 really hard for, you know, decades in order to celebrate our life then in retirement. You know, it's like this really weird old school way of thinking where it's like you can't really, you're not allowed to enjoy what you have while you have it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. This was sparked for me right after the infinite receiving awareness moment, because I had one blue shirt. There was one particular shade of blue, and when I would wear it, I would feel really powerful and like beautiful and strong. And I would wear that shirt every 2-3 months. Like I would make sure I wouldn't repeat it because it's not the right thing to repeat a color or repeat a shirt. And I was like, why do we do that? Why are you not allowed to wear your best clothes all the time?
Right.
Like, what's wrong with, like, are you show off or what? And I was like, the hell with that. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of those shirts. And next thing you know, I threw out everything that was not white, blue, or some black. I wear
basic essentials.
Yeah, and then I found out that I created a brand, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, but that was a preference. It was a commitment. Another way, very common way, is the not taking compliments. But I want to take this to a whole other level for all of you listening. So it's one thing to say, oh my gosh, I love your shirt, Ruby. Like, you look so good. It's one thing for her to say, thank you, Maru. Thank you. I received that, right? Like she said, she received it. And most people will say, oh, it was $5 at Target.
Right. Exactly.
Right. That's a very common way of deflecting that most women do. You look great. Yes. I just lost weight, or it's the makeup, or I just got my hair highlighted, whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, the most dangerous form of deflecting compliments and deflecting good things is when, something enters your ear and it goes out the other.
Right.
So when I tell you, Ruby, you totally rocked it on stage, right? And you're like, thank you, Maru. And deep down, you're like, well, what else is she going to say?
Right.
What else is she going to say? Whatever. So I used to do that. Like on the surface, I was accepting compliments and saying thank you. But deep down, my ego had this like limit almost to what I could receive. Like, yeah, she's probably just saying that because she's being nice. What else is she going to say? It's my event, of course.
Right. It's like you're not really fully absorbing it or being in that moment or being present with the compliment. You're not. And it's amazing. Like I genuinely give a shit about people, and I love listening to people's stories and what they're going through, and they think I'm fake. And it's because they're used to so much fakeness in the world that people are hearing, right? Yeah.
And so they're like, what's your agenda?
Yeah. And let's just pause for a second here, because to our listeners who are listening, like really think about this. Really think about the last time that you received a compliment. How did you receive it? What were your actions? What were your thoughts in that moment? How was your being in that moment? And really like take note of how you're showing up in those moments of like where there's an opportunity to receive.
Yeah. And it's an opportunity to be seen, and to like someone is acknowledging something. And I get that there are fake people in the world, but here's the thing is when somebody's giving you a compliment, chances are they kind of mean it in the workplace or, in your family. And, every situation is different, but if you're listening to this, you're not a jerk, a dick, or a douchebag. So I trust that you know exactly what we mean with this conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just amazing. And I encourage people, when you hear something and you didn't internalize it, or you felt like your inner dialogue was opposite from what you heard,
right?
You pause and say, you know what, I have to be honest with you. Everything you just said, I could not hear, but would you mind saying it again? Like I really want to hear it. I need to hear it. And I do that all the time if I can't. If I couldn't hear it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I just felt like it kind of landed up to my throat and it didn't go down to my mouth. But the danger with this, guys, is the following, that as with every other block to receiving or symptom that you're not receiving, is that when you block that one thing, that let's say that compliment, you're blocking a whole bunch of things that are coming behind that. Because you cannot selectively block. You can say like, I want this and I don't want that, which is what we normally do. You're like, all of this, but then none of this.
Right. It's like, I want Oprah, but I'm not going to receive this compliment from Maru.
Yeah. Or, I want Oprah, but not Steve Harvey.
Right.
It's something like that. It's like, you're missing the point, people. Because to me, it's like, everything is connected. Like you're saying, I love what you said about everything's energy and managing our internal energy. And it's what causes shrinking that literally is closing off everything, your bank accounts, your relationships, your this, your that. And it's in non-obvious ways. And the thing is, when you do this multiple times a day, which most women, I would say, especially women, we do this 20, 50, 30 times a day, where somebody says something and you're like, I'm in trouble. Or like, I don't want to upset that person, or I better go do that. Or,
yeah.
all those little things that we think and do on a daily basis, what do you think happens to our energy? It compounds. And the next thing you know, you have a mile-long, kilometer wall that's protecting you from receiving anything, because it's all adding up. So this is very serious. I mean, I can't even tell you, like, the people that work with me or have worked with me doing this work, like, I have a friend that scored a Hay House deal. Another one had an article go viral that had like 54,000 shares. I mean, it's what is getting in the way of you fully receiving the outcome. And it's just, I think it goes beyond mindset, because a lot of people are really good at journaling and meditating and stuff. They don't feel the energy of it.
Right. I always say, like,
it's energy.
Yeah. It's the being, this isn't just about, there's too many people trying to do all the actions that they're being told to do, but they're not taking enough time to really embody the essence of it, to really be it, to really be with the energy of what it is that you're trying to attain. And it's in the being that we receive so much. I mean, when I started practicing being, it changed everything. And like, so many of my clients, when they come to me, they've been so stuck in the do mode, because that's what everyone else teaches. Like, do this and you'll get this, do this and you'll receive this. But that's not the case.
I could say my capacity to receive, experience, and feel like the universe on repeat a million times, and it's not going to do anything. Exactly. Seeing myself that, you know what, maybe I've been blocked, maybe I am deflecting all these things, but I do want to increase the openness. I do, because I'm tired of struggling. And it was sincere, it was humble, and it continues to be that way. So I need to keep going down this list because it's very interesting. Another common way that people block themselves is feeling guilt and shame for their debt. So here's my what is it, antidote or like recommendation. So here's my take on this, right? And I had to arrive at this conclusion out of need at one point. I had all this credit card debt. I still do. I'm ruining my credit, trying to build my business, nearly filed bankruptcy 2.5 years ago, blah, 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 all these things. And I had this just like weight that felt like, the weight of a volcano on my shoulders. And at one point with this breakthrough of infinite receiving, I started seeing that the things that I felt so much shame, weighted down and guilt for, at one point were blessings, like those credit cards. Were blessings at one point. They allowed me to feed my kid. They allow me to put my son through like play stuff and school and things that taught him a lot. They allowed me to pay for counseling between friends. Like, there's so many things, like trips and schools and things that, even the things that didn't work out in my business, but the lessons that it taught me. And I had to completely rebuild or repair my relationship to debt and credit cards and loans and people helping me, people giving me their spaces to like shoulders to cry on or couches to crush on, because a lot of people have tremendous shame around borrowing or accepting help or even using credit cards or loans or something. And what I want to offer to you is that it didn't come from the bank. That it didn't come from your husband, that it didn't come from your inheritance, or that was the universe showing up for you when you needed it. And by you feeling guilt and shame, basically what you're doing is like, man, like I feel like the universe or God or source like threw you a lifeline, an opportunity for you to continue on something, right? And for you to do something that you desire to do or that you needed to do at the moment. And by you like punishing yourself and like beating yourself up and having this guilt and this shame, that you're further closing yourself off, and that instead of getting what you need in order to pay them off, you're doing the opposite.
Exactly.
Right? Like something to them and actually thank them, like literally thank the banks, like thank the credit cards, thank the loan, like thank all these sources, because that's what I call, or what we call in infinite receiving, you're discriminating the sources of receiving. You don't discriminate. And this takes discernment, right? Like if somebody says, hey, I'll give you this if you sleep with me. Well, hello.
That you may not want to say yes to that.
And I can't, you use your discernment, but again, if you're not a dick douchebag or jerk and listening to this, you'll know where I'm coming from. Right?
And what's funny is like, this is exactly how I paid my debt off years ago. Like I was in so much debt. I think it was about 5 years ago now. And it just kept accumulating. You know, when it rains, it pours, it amplifies. What you focus on grows. And my debt was growing. And then one day I just started thanking my bills. Every time I paid my bills, I would say, thank you. Like, I have the funds to make my minimum payment this month. And then all of a sudden the minimum payment became bigger. Thank you. I have the funds to make a larger than minimum payment this month. This is amazing. And I started doing that with all of my bills, and I paid off my debt in so much less time than I had originally thought it would take, you know, or the banks were telling me it was going to take.
Right.
And, you know, even now, my husband and I practice this thing. We call it Thank You Universe. Anytime he makes a sale on his passive income gig, or anytime I enroll a client or something good happens, we message each other, no matter where we're at. If he's at work, or if he's out and about, or if I'm at home, wherever. And we'll be like, I just made a sale, or I just enrolled a client. And we both pause, stop what we're doing, and we say, thank you, universe. And we'll like text that to each other. And we just take that moment, because it's just, you know, our capacity to receive really is infinite. And the more that you practice it, you know, I look at it as a muscle, right? The more that you dive into it and stretch it out and mold it out and play with it, the more elastic it becomes. Because, you know, like, how many entrepreneurs out there are like, oh, I want to make 6 figures. It's like, why not make 8 figures or 10 figures? You know? And it's like,
we're totally aligned in that, because I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, I did that. And when I hit that, I didn't have money to pay anything next month because
I mean, and then once you hit that 6-figure mark though, like once you hit that goal, you start to realize the potential, because again, like the muscle is growing, and you start to realize like, oh, that was really fucking easy. Let me see what else I can do. And so that, you know, I love that you explain this the way that you explain it, because it really is truly a practice. It's something that you embody and bring into your everyday life.
For sure. Yeah. As a matter of fact, like the first couple of weeks of my program is all about just recognition and noticing, because you don't even know, like my boyfriend and I have been living together for almost 4 months, and we love each other. It's amazing. Like total infinite receiving how I met. And holy crap, the stuff that I started shrinking around, I did not even know it was shrinking. I didn't even know I didn't even know I had that in me still, you know, because I thought like, I think it's something that it's not about never not shrinking, but it's about noticing and then working with it. Right.
Yeah. Being aware. Awareness is key. Yeah. It's like expanding on your awareness.
For sure. Yeah. It's like the onion, right? Like there's so many layers.
There's so many layers to our growth. And like whenever we think we like got it, there's like a whole other layer that explodes, and you're like, shit.
I'm telling you, like this whole fear of getting in trouble, like when he moved in, I was like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. And that's from my mom. Like, she was always so controlled in her relationships and in mine. Like, I'm like, I'll be back in 90 minutes. And he's like, and your point is, and I'm like, am I not supposed to tell you? What kind of leash were you on me for? And I'm like, all kinds.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? But it's the stuff that you don't know until it shows up. And I think if you have the openness in your heart and your mind to notice it, at first it may discourage you, which is what I find. Like people are like, oh gosh, I had no idea. I was like shrinking to my dad, and I shrink with my husband, and I shrink it with my clients, and I shrink with people online, and I see hot people on Instagram, and I'm like, bitch, I don't get that. You know,
yeah.
That brings me to my next point. You don't receive what you judge. So for example, if I see someone out there having what secretly I would love to have, or what outwardly I say I want to have, but you see somebody else having, and you start getting triggered by it. What do you think? What are you telling yourself, or what are you telling the universe? What do you think?
Yeah, you're shrinking to your opportunity to even receive it, because you're judging someone for having it.
Yeah. So what do you think will happen if you're that person in those pictures, or in those Facebook ads, or in getting that kind of exposure? Basically, you're telling yourself, hey, subconscious, anything that matches that, shut it down.
Right.
Because I don't want to be the target of that. Like, I don't want
to be judged. I don't want people to hate me. I don't want people to unfollow me.
Yeah. So it's, you know what I mean? It's tricky, but it's real, guys. It's real. It's real, because I used to have all these hangups around a good friend of mine, somebody that I'm sure you know, amazing. Like, I truly love her. She's the real deal. And she's got systems. She's got funnels that work. She's got abs, and she's got a dog and lives by the beach. and she has a beautiful husband and stuff. And I'm just like, like every time I would see her, I would get so triggered, and I would never think of her like bitch.
Right.
And I would think of like, I'll never get there. It feels
Right.
like ever. Right.
Yeah.
And so I realized one day that I was like, God, I would do, and now I was having a hard time losing weight,
Yeah.
finding love, like all the things. I like setting up systems. And then one day it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm telling my subconscious anything that matches that, annul it, like cancel it, because you don't want to get close to a place where people would hate on you. Because my biggest value is like connection and like, you know,
right,
close to people. So
yeah,
it was such a revelation, and I had to start like blessing it, you know. So I created this hashtag called I love you sister, that every time I would see something that would bring up it like a trigger for me to judge someone, even if they're doing something I don't approve of, like who I don't know their story.
right.
I don't know where their hate comes from. I don't know where their cellulite comes from. I don't know where their abs come from. Like you just never know, you know, like you just never know what kind of thing drove them to having that body or having those, or having it. And my life, I think my life changed. And I would love to start a movement around that. Like women not hating each other.
Sure. Coming soon to be enough. It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
I love you, sister. Another way that I think we completely block our capacity to receive is, I just forgot. There's so you don't receive what you judge, the language, the don't save pedestals. Oh my gosh, I have to talk about pedestals. I'm very known for the way I talk about pedestals, because basically anybody that you put on a pedestal, right? You're pushing up and away from you.
Yeah, anyone that you idolize. Yeah.
Yeah, by definition, anything you put on a pedestal, you've placed above you, and like you worship it or you idolize it, right? So you say you look up to someone. I don't say that ever. I say I look to somebody, because basically, just bit my tongue. Energetically, physically, mentally, you want to bring that thing down to a place where you can relate to it or you can work with it. Because if you have somebody on a pedestal, you basically are pushing the person away. And when I worked on this for myself, then I had things like Danielle Laporte or Lisa Nichols or Marissa Peer, like all these incredible people, like totally endorse my work and love it. And like, just like, I don't know, it's just, it all changed because I stopped putting them on a pedestal. I started seeing them as what I now say, peers in the human experience.
I love that.
Peers in the human experience. It doesn't matter if it's a janitor or Oprah, or, you know, it doesn't matter who it is. We were born the exact same way. We have the core DNA is the same. Just like, you know, even the people you hate, we're born via C-section or vaginal birth. Like we're born the exact same way. Like we're just having completely different human experiences.
Exactly.
And one would argue, even somebody who you think is similar to you is having a completely different human experience. So it's this perception game, you know, and when you bring that thing from the pedestal down to like, no, you know what? Oprah's a very successful entrepreneur and she's awesome. And I love like how she's real, and she's also a badass businesswoman and she's done so much and she's awesome. Then you get to meet her, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I wasn't even nervous. I was just like, cool. And anyway, so please practice that. And and you know, we don't have 3 hours here, but I want to say that it works the same with goals. Any goals you put on a pedestal that they feel like they happen to everybody else but not you, like when that happens, then I'll be somebody or I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah.
You're pushing them away because you're pushing them up and away. You're putting them above you. You will never be able to reach them. So, you know, if you follow me, if you look at my stuff, this is my language. This is what I live, breathe. This is what I practice for myself. And there's like 40 other blocks, but I wanted to at least touch on some of the very common ones that everybody will at least be able to relate or pick up on other people very easily.
Right. And it's a perfect starting place for our listeners too. It's the perfect place to start, is like really just start to build upon that awareness and all the ways in which you find yourself shrinking and not receiving. And that in itself is going to start to open up your capacity to receive. So thank you so much for sharing those tips with our listeners. And like, why don't you tell them how they can stalk you online, since we're approaching the end of the episode? How can they stalk you online?
Healthy stalking, inspiring stalking, please. All the good. I'm totally open to receive those. Okay. So find me on Instagram at Infinite Receiving. on Facebook, Maru Iabichela, which you'll find the name. And I do have an awesome Facebook group called the Infinite Receivers Club, and it's free. And you can read more on my story and what Infinite Receiving can do for you if you go to infinitereceiving.com.
Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the show notes so everyone has them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really proud of myself because I've built my business so organically. Like I don't have a single funnel. Funnel as in like the online world calls it, like passive income and stuff. I don't. And I want to now because I'm ready for it. But in the past, I used to put those things on a pedestal. So I don't have fancy like, hey, 1, 2, 3 guide to, change your look in 5 minutes. Like I don't have that yet. I have had those before, but right now I'm just like, you know what? If you like what you hear, you ought to go deeper because this will save your life. It will expand your bank account. It will expand the quality of your relationships, and you will not settle or stand for less than what makes you happy. And you'll
love it. Love it. So Maru, if you could sum all of what we just talked about into a love punch, like a short, concise affirmation for people to walk away with that's going to kick their ass into gear, what would you say?
You deserve to receive infinitely, and there's plenty for everyone to go around. So do not be shy in enjoying your piece of the pie, and don't be afraid to ask for more because there's plenty to go around. And that is the right thing for you to have an awesome kick-ass living experience so that you can share it with others. And so you can inspire those that feel like there's no better hope or no other possibilities for them. The best thing you can do is to take off in your own journey. That's the way you're going to bring everybody along, not by dragging them, convincing them. No, it's by showing what you're capable of, what's possible. And this will amplify and happen way faster if you learn to receive and own it. Own it.
Own it.
Let's
sum it up into those 2 words. Own it.
Yeah, that's true. Like if you ask me for a quick love punch, like but I think
we're just gonna shorten it to own it, guys. Okay, own it.
Own all of it. You're awesome.
Yes. Well, Maru, thank you so much for expanding. Those tips are going to help our listeners out so much into just even opening the doors, just to crack more so that they can one day open them wide open to the infinite receiving that is available to them. So thank you so much for being on Love Punch. And to our listeners who made it through this episode, we love you. Thank you.
Awesomeness. By the way, if you experience something as a result of listening or a coincidence, a major coincidence happens, let Ruby know, or you can email me, maru@infinitereceiving.com. Would love to know because that's why she does this. That's why I do what I do. And that's why I do the shows and talk about this.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us on today's episode of Love Punch, where I'm challenging thought leaders, influencers, and entrepreneurs like you to make a lasting impact. If you dig this episode with me and Maru, hit share and share it with your friends, share it with your tribe, and please don't forget to hit subscribe. If you're feeling a little extra frisky, drop a review. And like Maru said, like hit us up. You can hit me up on social media at I am Ruby, and then Maru's information is going to be in the show notes. So that's it. That's all, folks. Thank you, Maru. You are incredible. And I will see you all here next week for a brand new episode of Love Punch.